What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, we are going to be getting back to my 10 movie recommendations, Blu-ray recommendations from a specific year, and today we are going to be tackling 1985. And I am super excited to get into this year because not only is it a damn good year for film, it's also the year that I was born. So this year definitely holds a special place in my heart. So yeah, like I said, there's tons of great movies that we're getting ready to talk about. But before we get into it, guys, I need you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do tons of Blu-ray 4K content on this channel every single day. So if you like that kind of stuff, physical media, owning the movies that you love, definitely hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to like this video, guys. Liking videos is very underrated, and I need you to do it. And then comment down below what's some of your favorite films from 1985, your top 5, your top 10. What are some recommendations? Of course, there were more movies in 1985 than just these 10. And I know that there's tons of movies that I probably haven't seen that you're probably going to be screaming at your screen right now. Ken, I can't believe you didn't bring this one up. Well, it's either because I haven't seen it or I might save it for a part 2 of 1985. Like I said, tons of great movies that came out this year. We have tons of opportunities to talk about more films from 1985. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with my first recommendation. And that is, I didn't feel like I could do this year without recommending this one. And that is The Goonies. That is The Goonies from 1985. And I got it on 4K right here. Now, admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of The Goonies. I only saw it for the first time like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know why, for whatever reason, I just didn't grow up with this one. So I watched it for the first time 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought it was okay. It's a fun, it's a fine kids adventure film, but I wasn't over the moon for it. But I am recommending this because I know that so many people love it, and I'm going to get ripped apart in the comments section if I do not talk about The Goonies. So I'm talking about The Goonies, guys. Look, it's a fun kids adventure film directed by Richard Donner, one of the greatest directors of all time. And I respect it, and I am going to rewatch this one because I feel like, sometimes with movies, I'll watch them once and I'll be like, there'll be so much expectation, so much hype. I'll watch it and I'll be like, that wasn't as good as everybody was making it out to be. So I'll watch it the first time, and then a few years later, I'll watch it again, and maybe I'll appreciate it for what it is without having that level of hype that I went into it with the first time. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but it does to me. So that's why I said it. The Goonies from 1985. That is my first pick. You need to own it. So I'm also going to let you guys know how much these are if you want to purchase them on Amazon. The Goonies is currently $24.49 on 4K on Amazon. This is a Warner Brothers release, and yeah, that's a little bit steep. I got this for 10 bucks, I think, during Black Friday. I'm really glad I grabbed it. For sure, I still got the wrap on it. I haven't watched it. I think I watched it on streaming the first time, and then it got this 4K, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it. But when I went down the town, I was like, why not? Again, I'll give Goonies a second shot. But yeah, Goonies from 1985 is my first pick. Now let's get into my second pick, and this is a movie that's getting ready to get a 4K. And I only watched this one for the first time last year, and that is The Return of the Living Dead. So I really loved this movie when I watched it the first time last year. It's a horror comedy with zombies and just fun characters and moments, and yeah, it's a fun movie. I really enjoyed this one. It's also set in my home state of Kentucky. I think the beginning, like it says, like Kentucky, October. What was the date? July 3rd, 1984. So yeah, I love this movie. This is a really fun movie. I'm excited for the 4K this year, coming out from Scream Factory. I cannot wait to upgrade this one. But I have this cool steelbook right here of Return of the Living Dead. I think this was an MGM steelbook, and I saw it at Best Buy a few years ago, and I went ahead and grabbed it. And it took me forever to watch it, but finally got around to watching it. Really love this movie. Some great iconic horror moments like the Tar Man, just the effects work on that Tar Man, the practical effects and the makeup and the design is just incredible. The half corpse that lays on the table, like there's just some really iconic horror moments in this movie, and the effects work is just top notch. Directed by Dan O'Bannon, the same guy who helped create Alien. So yeah, definitely cool stuff. This is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. Don't expect like a Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, like Romero type zombie movie. But just expect a fun, good time. Expect it's kind of Dawn of the Dead meets Shaun of the Dead, somewhere in the middle there. But Return of the Living Dead is a hell of a lot of fun, and I would absolutely recommend it. From my birth year of 1985. And I don't know if you can still get the Steelbook for that, but you can get the regular Blu-ray right now if you want it for 18 bucks. But again, I would highly recommend that you wait for the Screen Factory 4K. That's going to be $27.99. So it's not going to be that much more to just go ahead and upgrade it. But again, if you just want the Blu-ray, you can get it for 18 bucks right now. I don't know if the Steelbook's available, but just the regular MGM Blu-ray is that price point. So let's get into my third recommendation, and that is The New Kids. The New Kids from 1985. So I got this movie, I think this was a Mill Creek release. Got it a few years ago. I really enjoyed this movie. It's got a really fun, villainous performance by James Spader. And it gets super violent by the time that you get to the end of this movie. Like, I did not expect how violent this movie was going to get. But yeah, it's just a really fun movie about these two, kids that moved to town, and they're the new kids, and they kind of get intertangled with James Spader, who's like a school bully, and it goes into some really violent territories, and it's a fun movie. Again, The New Kids from 1985. I don't feel like a lot of people's heard of this one. It's also got Lori Loughlin in it. Is that how you say her name? The woman, Becky from Full House, and she got locked up and all that controversy. I don't even know what. Is she still locked up? Is Aunt Becky still locked up? Somebody let me know in that comment section below. I'm worried about her. But anyway, look, this is the original poster art underneath here. So this is a really cool release. This is 10 bucks on Amazon right now. So not too much if you want to get and watch The New Kids. It's a cool movie. Let's get into my fourth recommendation. And of course, I gotta throw out another John Rambo movie. Rambo First Blood Part 2 is not a masterpiece like the first one. I'm not saying it's as good as First Blood, but it's a damn fun action film. I really enjoy Rambo 2. It's awesome. I watched it for the first time this year. Sylvester Stallone is jacked in this movie. And yeah, I would say that this is the movie that when people think of Rambo, the character, they think of this movie. They don't necessarily think of First Blood because there's just way more action and explosions and set piece moments in this film than there is the first one. But yeah, this was a hell of a year for Stallone. There's another big Stallone movie this year that I'm not bringing up right now, but again, I might bring it up on a 1985 Part 2. But both of those movies came out this year, and I think he was like the highest grossing actor of the entire year. He made a ton of money because both of those movies were in the top 3 of 1985 as far as like box office wise. And we're going to mention the other one in here as well. But Rambo 2 is awesome. You can get it on 4K right now for $13.99. So this is the 4K Steelbook. You can't get these Steelbooks anymore. I mean, you can like on eBay and stuff for probably ridiculous prices. But yeah, Rambo 2, I recommend it. Sylvester Stallone at his finest. Let's get into another. We got some horror movies in here. I know you guys, some people is like, can you recommend horror too much? I can't help it. It's the 80s, for Christ's sake. There's so many great horror movies in the 80s. When we get to the 90s, maybe we'll settle down the horror a little bit because the 90s had some good horror movies, but it wasn't as poppin' as the 80s was. But we can't not talk about some of these movies because I love them. We got to talk about ReAnimator. ReAnimator came out in 1985. Now, this is one I watched for the first time like 3 or 4 years ago. And again, another one that I was just like, I just don't know what I've been missing this entire time because this movie is great. Why have I not been watching this my entire life? Barbara Crampton, Jeffrey Combs. It's an amazing movie. It's super fun. I actually want to rewatch it like right now, just thinking about it. But yeah, it's a fun movie. Watch ReAnimator. It's got tons of great like makeup and effects work, and it's just got some great gore in it. And it's just it has a really cool aesthetic. I'm just thinking of all those bottles of like, the green, liquid, and it's like smoking, and it's just, everything looks so green in this movie. It's excellent. I love ReAnimator. Does that sell it for you? It's green. So watch the damn thing. It's a good movie. ReAnimator is awesome. And yeah, I got this Arrow Steelbook. I think this was a FYE exclusive Steelbook, but I don't think it's available. It's, again, you get on eBay and pay a ridiculous price for it. But you can get it for $22.99. So not a bad price at all if you want to get ReAnimator. And yeah, we're going to continue the horror train. I can't not talk. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk about this movie, this is another one I watched for the first time recently, but anytime I get a chance to talk about this movie, I got to take it. And this is The Stuff. I just can't get enough of The Stuff. This is the awesome movie. 1985. Larry Cohen movie. It's kind of a Blob ripoff, but what it brings in like in terms of like just social commentary on consumerism, and you know what it means to be a consumer and creating a product and just cultivating a almost cult-like atmosphere around this product. This movie's super smart for the time, but it plays it like extremely over the top and goofy. It's almost a satire. I would say it is a satire of consumerism and just a really smart social commentary directed by Larry Cohen. And you know, it's just like the Blob. It's if the Blob was whipped cream and it went around and it looked delicious and you just wanted to eat it, but it will kill you at a moment's notice. That's The Stuff, and it's excellent. But The Stuff from 1985, highly recommend that one. And you can get The Stuff for $20.01 right now. Highly recommend The Stuff. Ever since I've watched The Stuff, I'm telling you, I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. Now, let's get it. We got 4 more movies to recommend here. We've got, holy crap, we've got some bangers in here. We have got some serious bangers. And how can I not talk about this movie? How can I not talk about this movie? This is The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club from 1985. You see that? You said this is my birth year. My birth year had The Breakfast Club, one of the most important teen dramas, comedies, coming-of-age movies of all time. Such a great film. How could you not, you know, love this movie? It's such a phenomenal movie. This the whole song "Don't You Forget About Me" is just going through my head right now as I'm talking about it, and I just want to turn it on and I want to sing along with it. It's such a great song. And I love this movie so much. Such a great movie about some kids in detention on a Saturday, and they just have to like bond and coexist. They're all from different walks of life, and it just shows you that people that come from different backgrounds can get together and unite around a common goal. And, you know, there's some problems there. There's some issues. They fight a little bit, but they all come together at the end and they become friends. And it's a happy ending until they have to leave and go home. And then I'm sure they're not friends on Monday. But they go into all that in the movie, and it's really smart. And I just love The Breakfast Club. It's such a feel-good movie that's also kind of depressing. It just has a great soundtrack. And I mean, you got Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall. It's just such a great cast, directed by John Hughes. It's not my favorite John Hughes movie, though. I will say that. I love this movie with my whole heart, but it's still not my favorite John Hughes movie. We'll get there. We'll get there for sure. But The Breakfast Club is excellent. Love this movie. It's got a Criterion for probably $19.99, somewhere around there, but this Blu-ray you can get for $7.99. This is a 30th anniversary edition. So highly recommend that you own The Breakfast Club in your collection. It's one of the most important movies of the 80s. One of the most beloved movies from the 80s. Now let's get into my, what would this be? My 8th pick. And I feel like over the past couple of years, I've been watching a lot of horror films from 1985. And this one I also watched for the first time last October, and that is Silver Bullet. And I really enjoyed this movie. I love the, it's got Corey Haim, it's got Gary Busey. I love their relationship in this movie as nephew and uncle. I just thought that was super strong and really carried this movie. Beyond that, like, it is kind of a, I don't want to say generic, but just a lesser than werewolf movie. And when I say that, I mean lesser than like The Howling or American Werewolf in London. Those are the standards for me. But to be honest with you, this might be my 3rd favorite werewolf movie. I do really enjoy this movie a lot. It's got a really fun setting on the 4th of July. And it's just a fun movie. It's a fun movie with Corey Haim. And, you know, he shoots a firework at the werewolf. And I enjoy this one. It's very enjoyable. It's a Stephen King movie. You can get the Scream Factory edition for $26.95. This is an excellent edition with tons of special features. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Silver Bullet. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And let's get into, we got a couple heavy hitters coming up. And these 2 movies that I'm going to call out right here are just some of my favorite movies of all time. They're probably both at least in my top 10 movies of all time. People say I say that all the time. I'm kind of joking. One of them definitely is. And the one that is, for sure, in my, not just my top 10, but my top 3 movies of all time, for sure, without question, is Back to the Future. Yes, 1985 had Back to the Future. How lucky am I to have a birth year with Back to the Future? This is arguably the best movie ever made. It's so damn good that they've still yet to touch it and remake it and bastardize it and make sequels and all this crap. It still remains intact It's pure, and that's because of Robert Zemeckis. That's because of Bob Gale. They've got a stranglehold on it. They're not letting anybody do anything with it, and I love them so much and respect them for that. But Back to the Future, what can you say about it? Like, this movie, I can't put into words what this movie is. It's just one of the greatest films of all time, one of the most important films of all time. Beautifully directed by Robert Zemeckis with just the perfect cast. Like, you could not get a better cast in this movie. Michael J. Fox, you got Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd, just their chemistry together. You care about everybody in this movie. It's such a great story about a kid that goes back in time and meets up with his parents and there's problems and he has to get them back together and to ensure that his birth still happens. Like, it's a really smart story that they came up with there, incorporating time travel, but also not just time travel, but just really bringing in that family element and pulling at the heartstrings and just making you feel and care about every single character in this movie. It's really something special. And I can't imagine that anybody that's watching this right now, maybe like one person hasn't seen Back to the Future, but if you are that one person that has not seen Back to the Future, watch Back to the Future tonight. It's one of the greatest films of all time. And beyond the characters and the great story and the great direction and all that stuff and the great performances and actors, you have just some of the greatest effects work of all time, effects work that still hold up so well today. Like, watch this movie in 4K. Like, everything still looks crystal clear and great, and like nothing looks aged at all. Everything still looks great. Everything still looks beautiful. Back to the Future, you have to have in your collection. Now, I own the trilogy right here. I don't know if you can buy Back to the Future by itself, to be honest. Because every single time I bought Back to the Future, it's been in a trilogy set. So there was a DVD trilogy set, there was a VHS trilogy set, there was a Blu-ray trilogy set, there was a 4K trilogy set. I don't know if they've ever sold these individual. I'm pretty sure they've sold the VHS as individual, but somebody let me know in the comment section below, were there ever individual DVDs or Blu-rays for Back to the Future? I know there wasn't a 4K, but that's definitely interesting for sure. But I mean, for sure, you have to own all these movies in collection. You can't just buy Back to the Future because it's a continuing story. You have to go through the entire journey with Doc Brown and Marty McFly. But yeah, Back to the Future, it's just so great. Michael J. Fox is so awesome. And the soundtrack, I didn't even go into the soundtrack. The Huey Lewis and the News soundtrack, it's so great. Chuck Berry at the end with Johnny B. Good. Oh my God, such a great soundtrack. But Back to the Future, you can get the 4K for $52.69. So a little bit of a steep price, but I'm telling you, these 4Ks look incredible. But if you just want to go with the Blu-rays, $23.80 for all three of these films on Blu-ray. So not a bad price at all. Now let's get into my last recommendation. And I saved this one for last. This one just holds a special place in my heart. I truly love this movie. I don't love it as much as Back to the Future, but it's probably my second favorite film of 1985, and that's Weird Science, directed by John Hughes. And again, I said Breakfast Club is for sure what most people would say is their favorite John Hughes movie. Mine is Weird Science. I just have a special attachment and love for this movie. It's just so relatable. As a teenage boy, it's incredibly relatable to, create a hot girl on your computer when you're in the midst of puberty. Like, that's just such a relatable thing. And I remember watching this movie for the first time when I was like 11 or 12, and I just loved it. I rewatched this film constantly. Love this movie so much. You got Anthony Michael Hall in this film as well. Kelly LeBrock might be the most attractive woman in any film of all time in this movie right here. I'll just say that. But she's great. Everybody's great. You got Bill Paxton in this movie as Chet, the brother. He's fantastic. He's so good. I love Bill Paxton in Weird Science. And yeah, Weird Science, it's just such a fun movie. Such a fun movie. This is the Arrow Video Edition. You can get this Arrow Video Edition for $21.99. And I'm telling you, it's so worth it. It looks great. It's a 4K scan, tons of special features. And yeah, this is my favorite John Hughes movie. And I know he has better movies than Weird Science on a technical level, Breakfast Club, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but Weird Science just holds a special place in my heart. So that is it. And how incredible is it that he had two movies? John Hughes had two instant classics come out in the year 1985 with The Breakfast Club of Weird Science. Definitely the year of John Hughes. But yeah, with that, guys, we are done with my 10 Blu-ray recommendations from the year of 1985. I will try to link all those in the description below if you want to purchase any of them based on my recommendation. But appreciate all of you guys watching. Please like this video, comment down below your own picks for 1985, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.